Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another session of Love is Patient. And here I have Dominique. Dominique's back. She is back. And in our discussion this month, we are talking about finding love in loss of a loved one. Last week, my husband and I were on, and we were talking about finding love to fill that void of a loss. And I talked a little bit about losing a sibling, losing my brother, and what that did to me, how I reacted to it, and how I actually tried to find him again. My nieces, whose children tried to actually, well, we had a relationship already, but I found myself forming a more meaningful relationship with him because I was looking for him. I was looking for him. So the love that I shared with them was kind of like filling my void. So that was something that I did in response to my loss. And I have Dominique here today. We That is something that I wouldn't like to have in common with anybody. I wouldn't like to have that in common. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but that is something that me and my bonus daughter do share in common. That is the loss of our oldest brother. And Dominique, I was thinking about that common ground that we have in that area. And I was thinking about Grandma Peggy and
Mm,
how we all share that. Do you know she lost her older brother as well?
yeah,
So
she
that's just
spoke to me more about it after my brother
Yeah,
passed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, we often talked about that, and I just thought about that as I was just preparing for you to come on and have this discussion. That is something that we do share, that common um, loss. And I wanted to talk to you today about how you are dealing with that loss and what you decided to do to put a very positive spin on dealing with your loss.
Well, you already touched base on a lot of important key factors, and one being finding love in a loss. And in that, I still had to realize what love was for me and what it was, so that I knew what I was looking for. So initially, I was in a relationship. You remember Tay and I have been around for a long time,
Mhm.
and we share that. We have that common ground as
Wow.
well. So, of
Yes.
course, I clung tight to him
Mm,
because we both lost our brother. Unfortunately lost his brother much younger than I had lost
mm.
mine. Um, but it turned us both into now the oldest sibling, and just
Right,
having
right,
that
right.
common ground, it just solidified our friendship, because before anything else we were friends. And just having that friend to lean on that knew what it felt like, knew that I didn't want to talk about it, and just having that person, it just felt so comforting. And so I feel like I got too comfortable because I leaned on him too much,
Mm,
and then I wasn't allowing him to heal through whatever he needed to get through as well. So I was ultimately becoming a leech,
mm,
and trying to find love. And it was something that he couldn't feel for me because he wasn't my brother. Although he supported me as much as my brother and my father combined do, um, it's not the same as a brother's love. My brother loved me unconditionally, to the point where he knew all my flaws, and never once did he call me out of my name or make me feel less than. Most of the time he's barely even brought up the fact that he knew half
mm.
of the stuff that I have been going through. So I said all that to say my brother reflected what I wanted to be. So I was looking for a love in the world. But then I realized, as I was contemplating who my brother was to me, that the love I was looking for was really the love that I now wanted to pour out into other people. So
Wow.
instead of trying to step up and be an aunt and have his children feel a void for me, um, I feel the void for myself. And I learned how to love myself more in that season, because although I wish I could be, that fill in for my niece and nephew. He had one daughter and two sons. Although I wish I had that strength to be that for them, I wasn't. I was still young myself. I had children myself, and I wasn't even in the mental space to be that for anyone, let alone myself. Um, so definitely not for the children. And so, for my own sake, I just did some inner healing and just worked
Mhm.
on what I wanted to take from that pain. And in that is what pushed me to move to Maryland, because um my grandmother passed. She always wanted to live in Florida. My brother passed, and he had all these dreams and ambitions, and he had all the flaws that anyone could probably ever think of, like we all do. But his heart was so pure.
Yes.
And seeing that at his funeral reminded me that it's more about the actions of the person and the heart of the person, and that what you're doing it and what's driving you and pushing you behind it, that leaves the impact on other people. He was far from perfect, but people know he loved God, and they know
Oh,
he loved the
yes.
kids, and they knew he loved his family. And so in that, I'm like, how can I leave that impression on other people? I may never be Martin Luther King, but I wanna, if I were to die tomorrow, I wanna leave such an impression on other people that they'll never forget me, and it will change their life. And so I thought about, what is it that I always wanted to do? What can I do to make my life matter? Because I feel like even though his life was taken young, he did so much
Mhm.
that he lived life with no regrets. He never bit his tongue, unfortunately. And whatever he wanted to do, he set his mind to it, and he made it happen by any means necessary. So I was like, if my brother can do that, I know I can make it happen as well. He believed in me, so I need to believe in myself now.
Good, good.
So I moved to Maryland. I went back to nursing school full time and went after it full fledged. I'm currently working on that. And I also thought about starting my first works. I've always wanted to have a group home for young women, young adults, but mainly women, because that's a culture that I can relate to, because I'm a single mom. I've been a mom. I was laughing with my aunt about it just earlier tonight, about how I've been a mom longer than I've been an adult, because I had my first kid at 16. So I told her, I said, all my life I had to be a parent.
Yes.
But um I wanted to reach other young women like myself that wanted to be on their own and take care of their kids, but didn't necessarily have the funds to do it. And they made enough money to maintain, but not enough money to really live how they wanted to live, and do trips with their kids and just live comfortably.
Yes.
And they didn't fall below the line enough to really qualify for state assistance. So that's really my margin that I'm trying to meet right now. And so my mission statement is to provide single mothers with a safe haven while creating an atmosphere in which she can learn and grow by way of accessible resources needed not only for survival but success. And unfortunately, although my father is an accountant, he spoiled us rotten. And so getting out here in Maryland, I didn't know how to properly budget bills. If I didn't have the money, I just called my dad. But I love the idea and the concept of being on my own, because it has forced me to realize my own strength and potential. And I've always known I was strong, because I lost my son when I was 16. I lost all of my grandparents. I've lost my brother, and I still keep pushing. I've never given
Yes.
up. But there was a deeper strength that I dug into moving here in Maryland, and realizing that um having a very supportive and financially stable father is great, but what if he doesn't make it? What if tomorrow God took my father? How would I survive? And I had to start thinking that way so that one, I wasn't putting so much of a burden on my dad, whereas though he did pass tomorrow out of stress trying to take care of me and my kids. But also, if he, God were to take him, he would feel comfortable in knowing that my daughter's going to be okay. She knows how to survive on her own. So that gave me pushing ammunition to just realize, like, how do I budget properly? Like, what needs to be paid? Learning how you don't have to pay the whole bill and they won't
Yeah.
cut you off. Different things like that. Um, been building my credit and um just really getting back to the basics of who I've always wanted to be as a woman first and then as a mom. So just doing little things with my kids. Like for Easter, I took them to DC, overnight trip, very easy, not very expensive, but we made memories and I've
Yes,
been trying to make more memories because tomorrow is not promised. And although I'm not where I want to be, each day I want to live purposefully and be one step closer to the woman that I've always wanted to become. And little progress is progress. And
that's right.
so, just doing better as a mom is important, but doing better as a woman comes first
Yes.
because I'm nothing to my children if I'm not whole myself. So I've gone back to therapy,
Mhm.
getting the
It's
counseling and
good.
stuff that I need to be better. And in doing so, you know, building my credit, getting the therapy, seeing what my kids need, meeting their needs, and also trying to meet their wants as well when I can. Um, you know, wanting to buy a house, all these things. I'm also thinking about how will this impact the women that I want to, work with. And I can't do a work with them that I can't do for myself.
Mm-mm.
So I want to be my first work. So
Mm.
if I get through, when, not if, when I get through all of this and I'm successful in my womanhood and my parenting, I can be the first person to tell them, like, I'm far from perfect, but I'm living proof that it's possible. And if I can do it on my own, just imagine how further you can be in your parenting, in your career, in your life, if you just use our resources and let us help you, give you that extra boost. It's not forever, it's temporary, and it's a temporary fix, but I don't want it to be a band aid. Let's dig deep and fix it completely so you leave here holistic. And it just starts with fixing them. I want to start with, giving them therapy and, having sessions where they can dig deep in why do you feel like you need to do this and that, and help them reach their potential as far as what were your dreams before you became a parent, or what have you always wanted to do, or better yet, since being a parent, what needs do you feel like you can meet in the community, because everyone's not meant to go to college. Everyone's not going to be an entrepreneur, because every entrepreneur needs a worker. If we're all entrepreneurs, who's going to be working those jobs? So, just because you see it on social media doesn't mean you have to live up to that stigma. Let's meet you where you are and let's perfect it. So
That's
that's
good.
just a dream of mine. So I want our team to leave such an impression on these women that when they leave our services, they're ready to go out into the world and leave their own mark.
I
And
think
then it's
that's
a play on words because I call my brother Mark. His middle name was Marquise.
I think that's wonderful. I love the way that you approach the question, just talking very transparently about your process and losing your brother and many more. People that were near and dear to you that you have lost over the years. Uh, Finding love and loss. In doing that, you don't always hit it on the nail in that search. And thank you for being transparent. And I think that is something that somebody out there can think about and caution themselves about. It's wonderful to be able to lean on a friend. But where is the threshold? How much can you depend on somebody? How much can you um, is that that dependence becomes dangerous at a certain point in time when you know your void is so deep, it's so deep, and I commend you for recognizing what you know, the transparency that you are expressing yourself with today uh, shows a lot about your maturity because you first have to say, hey, that was good that I could depend on my friend, but I think I crossed the line with that, you know, into a stage where I was zapping him, you know. So that is maturity to understand and know your limits, how big your need is, and to limit yourself. You know, you're giving resources. Some people come your way. You're able to glean from them. But just the fact that you knew, like, oh, I went overboard with that is very, very mature way of understanding yourself. And then you move right into, hey, I need to fix me. I'm going to find self-love. You know, I love that. You went from trying to find love in someone, you know, to no. Let me love myself first. And the way that you connected that to your brother's life is just beautiful. And I would hope that somebody out there would find that same connection in using a loved one in your search for love. Don't forget about self love. Don't forget about loving yourself. That's the most important thing. And I'm just bubbling up inside because those that know Dominique know that she always wanted to move to Baltimore. She was a little girl talking about she wanted to live in Baltimore. We were like, what?
I think that, and it's funny
So,
because I ended up at Uncle Sean's church.
yes.
Um, but that's the first church I remember coming out here
Wow.
and seeing Dad preach at. Was I think
Unbelievable.
it was I think it was his first church because it wasn't this one,
Yes.
but I think it was the first one. And
Okay.
I don't know how old I was, but I remember it, and I
You
was
were
like,
young. I
I'm moving
remember
to
that.
Baltimore.
Always wanted to move to Baltimore.
Well, let the
So,
Saints tell it. I moved here for Tay.
right. They don't know
They don't
that you've
know.
always had that
I have
in the
always,
back of your mind that you were going to live in Baltimore. So, you know, just
and this
fulfilling
crazy
that.
thing is, before Grandma passed, she was actually helping me buy a house because I had gotten the money from Tyrese's passing.
Yes.
Um, and she wanted me to buy because, you know, it'll
Yes.
be more financially, you know, feasible
Hmm.
as far as monthly payments, which made sense.
It does.
But little did
Yes.
she know, I was looking at houses in Maryland. Well, no one knew that, but I was looking at houses in Maryland because one,
I
they were
love it.
cheaper, and I've always wanted to live here. And it was before convention, and when Grandma and I were
Wow.
conversing about it, and then of course we went to convention. I met Tay, and I was like, I can't move to Baltimore now because the first thing on everyone's mind is, I believe she's moving to Baltimore for a
Right.
man she just met.
Well,
Little
I
they
know
don't know.
better. I know better because as a little girl,
They
you
don't know
wanted
I've
to
been
move
looking
to
at houses this
Baltimore.
whole time, but the way that thing just went full circle,
Hmm.
and my brother ended up passing, and me
Mm.
just ultimately moving here anyway. It just goes to show that whatever God has for you is for you, no matter what happens, as long as you stay the course, because that's important too. I feel as though prophecies can cease, you know, they can fail.
Yes. Absolutely.
And it's not because the prophet is false. Sometimes it's because us as a people tend to fear what the word that was prophesied to us is. And God, I don't see it, so this must not be it. Or, you know, we don't see the path, so we give up. But faith
Unbelief
without works is dead. You
out.
have to work
Yes.
that thing.
Hmm.
And I appreciate my move to Baltimore even more because I don't think I would have been as driven if I moved in. Not because of any man, but just because my heart wasn't there yet. My heart has always been in Baltimore, but I just
Yes.
mean the drive to make it on my own and, you know, provide and do what I need to do. I had the money at the time, but I didn't
Hmm.
have the mentality
Right.
to make it out here had I moved when I wanted to move. So everything happens for a
It
reason.
happens for a
And I feel
reason.
like going back to my Leave a Mark Foundation, I feel as though children are such a blessing, but I don't feel like it has to hinder people from still wanting to do and be who they've always wanted to be. And if anything, I think it just makes you all the better as a parent. If your kids get to see you
Right.
like overcoming that, like, yes, mommy had you young, but it was that much harder for me to figure this out. Um, and I'm hoping that my children can see my works and see that, mommy's not perfect and it was hard and you're not a mistake, but had I had you in a different time, I would have been able to be further. But look how much further mommy got.
Yes.
And look how, if I can do this with 3 children, just imagine how far you can be
Right.
if
That's
you
that's
don't,
awesome.
so I want to flip it, not
Mhm.
not scare them out of being parents, but more so push them to just go after your dream first and let everything else play itself out. If family comes and, all that other stuff, it will come in God's timing. And I don't even want my business to be spiritualized. I want to reach the hearts of all people and let my works do the talking. So I don't plan on being underneath any umbrella of a church, although I do want to work with churches. I'm not going to be having services in the middle of the cafeteria or anything like that. I just want to meet people where they are and let my works do the rest, because um the biggest thing I always talk about when speaking of religion is that when Jesus went out into, the nations and speaking to the people, he wasn't pulling out scripture or anything else. He was just speaking in layman's term, giving
Yes.
parables, and just making it common knowledge for the people so that,
Yes.
they can understand it and comprehend. And I feel like sometimes we just over spiritualize things and we lose sight of, really reaching the souls of the people. And I feel like although it's not a church, I can meet so many people and, really get deep into their souls and like help them, realize that through my works and my walk that, there has to be a God. If,
Yes.
if she can do it and make it through all of that, there has to be a greater source. And in doing that, they ask like, well, how did you make it? And
Yeah.
then that gives me an opportunity to know, had it not been
Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. Right. Right. Right.
for the Lord
That's
on my
awesome.
side.
That's an awesome
But yeah, that's just
dream.
always
That
been a dream of
yes.
mine.
Mhm. And you're that much closer to that dream.
I
I
know.
see it, especially this year. I think that it is really broken for you, and you can see it. I know you can see it now. Finally,
Yeah.
you can see it. We're right there at the crux of it. I just love the maturity that I hear, the healing that I hear from within, because it seems on the outside, what you're saying, what you're projecting. I know that you have come a long way. The fact that you said that you want to be useful, I think that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing right there. Be healed yourself, and
Right.
then you can strengthen your brother. Be strengthened, and then go out and strengthen your brother. It's gonna happen just like that. Just you then there. You then a single mom and a teenage mom. You dealt with different relationships. Hindsight is 2020. Now that you look back, you would have done it differently. And we learn much through the things that we suffer. And you've suffered a lot. That that means that you learned a lot and now you're in a position to teach. So I think this foundation is amazing. It's a wonderful way to honor your brother and the life that he lived. It's a wonderful way to help you to fill the void of his loss. And we're just looking forward. I say we because you have a lot of eyes on you. You have a lot of eyes on you just because you're a magnet yourself. doesn't have anything to do with where you come from, but you're a magnet yourself. And then, of course, where you come from, your mom, your dad, your rich heritage. People are looking at you, who you are, what you project. You have a lot of eyes on you. We are waiting to see what God is going to help you do. And He knows your intentions and your plans are amazing. I watched your the initial meeting that you had about Leave a
Mhm.
Mark, and I was so impressed. I was so impressed, and I know that you will get some more followers because I'm promoting this to the friends that I have that you may not have. We ought to look out for Leave a Mark. Why don't you, in closing, just let us know how we can support this effort, where you are so far, where you're going in the next few months, and how we can support your effort.
So as of now, I'm just working on building a platform so that I have women to actually service because it's crazy. I have services already. People have been reaching
Mhm.
out saying, I want to help with financial classes and, I want to do a spa day for moms. And I have all these people that want to help the women. I just don't have a lot of women yet. So,
Okay.
um, I'm reaching out to other organizations trying to network.
Mhm.
So I'm not reinventing the wheel. I got that from our minister, Bobby Brown. Um, so I'm not reinventing the wheel. And learning also, like sitting on board. She advised me to try to sit on a board or two so that I know how these companies function because I feel like a lot of times people have a great idea, but it's not done properly and,
Mhm.
it fails. Not because it wasn't a great idea and it couldn't make it, but just because it wasn't properly planned. So I'm
Mhm.
taking my time with it so that it doesn't flop because I know it's a need and I know I can meet that need, but I want to do it right. All things in excellence. So I'm taking my time and doing my research so that I know what areas that I want to start with, what finances I would need, and, to get started and everything. So I'm really just in the starting phases as of yet. I would love to start with my services first. So that's why I'm trying to start my building the platform so that I can get those services out and that we'll get the buzz around for word of mouth. And then with having the services, I'm able to, provide the resources to women who aren't just in Maryland because with COVID, everything's virtual. So I can have the classes virtually and more
Right.
people can be able to attend. So I can meet more people that way and potentially get more people in my area ultimately and then start a home and have it like an application process. But really just starting from the root of it and just grounding it properly, having a team behind me. The right team behind me is very important, so I want to have the proper board members that have the same heart and want to see it, to see this work and help other women. They have that same drive to help other women. And some people don't have the finances, but they have the time. Some
Yes.
people don't have the time, but they know the resources. So there's so many different ways that people can give into this ministry and help me make it work and be prosperous. So we already have our email set up. I'm working on getting our nonprofit paperwork put in, but you need your board members for that. So I'm honestly just starting from the ground up.
Okay. Is
Um,
there a website that you have?
I haven't built a website yet,
Okay. All right. But your Facebook, if
but we do
somebody
have a
wanted
Facebook.
to
Hmm.
chime in and support
Yes,
you,
we
how
have
would they do that?
the Leave a Mark Foundation has a Facebook page that you can link. You can search on the search engine on Facebook to look us up. We have an Instagram as well, and all of our contact information is on both resources, the Instagram and the Facebook. And we take donations, but not really. The donations would just be going towards starting costs as far as like the paperwork and, whatever classes that we wanted
Startup
to get
costs.
started. So just starting fees. And eventually I wanted to have a transitional house to house these women. So that's really
Yes.
the big picture, the bigger picture that I had behind the vision, is to have the transitional housing, whereas though we were housing these women and giving them 2 to 3 years to save money and either purchase a home or start up their own business, whatever they see fit with the money that they've been saving, and just give them the head start that they need to be the best that they can be and leave their own marks. So it's not just going to be a group home of a whole bunch of single moms living off in the state. We're pushing them to depend on themselves, because
Awesome.
the state won't always be there, and there's always a gimmick behind it. I don't trust it. So just always having your own to make it, and only depending on yourself and your children, and let love come, because I've always had a heart to be a wife, and I'm sure a lot of other single mothers do. But if you love yourself, and then you in turn are loving your children and treating them right, the right man will come along. And then I feel
Absolutely.
like you'll have the better marriage because of that. If you're loving yourself properly, it's forcing that man to love you right as well. So,
Absolutely.
just just meeting them where they are and just giving them the resources. I know a lot of people that, again, maybe not have the finances, but maybe they're therapists. That's another way that you
Yes.
can,
Offer
provide your
services.
services. Hmm.
Yes. Good, good, good.
Even if you're a social worker and have different classes that these moms can be signed up for, there's so many different avenues that you can meet the needs of these single mothers. So I just feel like not there shouldn't be a limit on what these services should entail. So whatever people have to offer, I'm sure these women will be open and willing to accept them. So yes,
Good, good,
reach out
good.
through the social media so that we can connect and make it happen.
Yes. And I'll have that on my page. I'll have your information on my page for those that are interested in helping while we're building the foundation of Lee Mark. It's an amazing idea and it's coming into fruition even now. We're even looking for young ladies, preferably in the Maryland area, but not limited to the Maryland area. So if you're interested in being in this type of program, reach out, leave a mark. Okay. She's on Facebook as well as Instagram. Look her up and drop her a line and let her know what to do to assist with this amazing foundation. Thank you so much for joining me. Continue to do what you're doing. We are very proud of you. I am very proud of you. Keep on doing what you're doing because you have a lot of eyes on you. You're helping women right now. You're helping them right now, as well as your children, as they're
Yes.
looking at you, looking at you go through what you're going through, and they're seeing you come out on top. So, all things work together for the good. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. But all of this is working for your good because everything that you have acquired, your experiences, through the things that you've suffered, you're going to be able to give that experience back to a young woman. Just so thank you. Love is patient, everybody. You have to be patient with yourself in the area of loss. When you've lost a loved one, everybody has a different path and a different process, but just be patient with yourself.